Oh, beautiful. Look at the light on that. Okay, we're currently at Maes Howe, in the north part of the sacred landscape, looking down towards Hoy. From Maes Howe we'll go down to see Brodgar, which is another enormous earth ring with standing stones around it. Another very, very large circle called the Stones of Stenness, but these monuments are all intervisible. Maes Howe is fantastic. It's the largest of these chambered cairns. Always overwhelming to be here. There's nothing that surpasses Maes Howe. If you look at the construction of Maes Howe, there's nothing in the Neolithic world which tops it. Maes Howe is incredibly spectacular. It's always breathtaking to be in here. To see the construction in here just shows where the British culture achieved its pinnacle, because the stones are so closely packed together. In 1861, James Farrar came through the roof and sort of brought Maes Howe back into history for the first time since the Vikings. The Vikings had broken in. King Hakon broke in the 12th century. He bore treasure away from this howe, apparently, according to the graffiti, and they sheltered in here for a night. And according to the Orkney saga, 2 of his men went crazy. It's stated very flatly, but you can only imagine what it would be like to have 2 crazy men on your team, slowing them down considerably, especially a group of patriarchal warriors like the Vikings who were full on at all times. It seems that the idea that all the community was buried in here is obviously an impossibility, because so many people were needed to construct this. It seems that there was a selected bunch of people. At winter solstice, at the sunset, just before sunset, the sun shines directly down this 35-foot passage right into the main chamber. It's something that's also seen in Newgrange in Ireland, and of course it would have been always spectacular. Possibly it would have been something that initiates were shown, you know, just to say, okay guys, we've got this control, you're part of this culture, let's take it forward. They would have seen everything as part of this great cosmic drama. We're now at the Standing Stones of Stenness. This is one of the most fantastic stones in megalithic culture. It's over 20 feet high and probably 4 or 5 inches thick. Standing stones used to number 12, now there are only 3, but this would have once looked like a sort of a megalithic crown in the landscape. It's possible that rituals over the years went from one place to another in kind of a procession, maybe a progress across the landscape. That's definitely the best one. I'm standing on a mound looking down to the Ring of Brodgar. This is the most impressive of all the circles in terms of its physical size. The Ring of Brodgar is the latest of these monuments, still in existence, made after Stenness and after Maes Howe. When they dug this ditch, they had to go down directly into Orcadian flagstone, like the stones that the monument is made of. They had to dig with antler pickaxes, chip, chip, chip away until this stuff finally came up. It was an enormous job, so clearly the significance of the ditch was enormous. I think seeing a lot of these monuments, it's definitely likely that there were people employed to perceive monuments, perceive their place in the landscape, people who travelled vast distances to do just that. There are certain obsessions that the Neolithic architects seem to put in to certain little details, almost as though it was a megalithic thumbprint that said I was there. It's quite possible that there was a gang of incredibly versatile megalithic builders that moved around. I'm quite surprised that these monuments have stayed as well as they have. I think they must have chosen the stone incredibly well. There must have been somebody out there who was a right quarry expert. That was a very inspirational visit. I think that this visit is some of the best weather I've ever seen here. Yeah, just everything about Orkney is very impressive. Thanks very much. Bye-bye. I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna be back. We're currently at Kirkton of Culsalmond in Aberdeenshire. The main reason that we've come here is that sacred hill up on the horizon known as Dunadir. Dunadir is kind of like a lost Glastonbury of the north. On top of that sacred hill is the remains of a 12th century chapel, very similar to Glastonbury Tor. This church was built on top of a stone circle. It seems to have survived until the 1700s, at which time the stone circle was dug up and cast into the floor of what is now the church of the Kirkton of Culsalmond, or Culsalmond. So if we stand there and we look across, we can see its prehistoric significance. And the reason we're here is to show right across the area, at least 14 stone circles make that its main focal point. Okay, and there in front of us is Dunadir, the central sacred hill of this Aberdeenshire scenery. The reason that this is such a strong image is because it can give us some idea of what Glastonbury would have once upon a time been like before Christianization destroyed many of the stone circles. What's happened in Aberdeenshire is that there are just so many, it's impossible to destroy all the circles. I'm standing in the stone circle of East Aquithes. This is one of the greatest and one of the earliest stone circles in Aberdeenshire. In Aberdeenshire, we find a level of stone circle building that's quite out of proportion with the rest of the British Isles. They became totally obsessed with this weird phenomenon, the large recumbent stone, almost like some huge megalithic sideboard right in the middle, and then the two huge upright flankers which dwarf the rest of the stones. The reason that we're here is because we're going to be exploring the fact that this, almost as a megalithic altar, appears in every stone circle that we're going to see. And we're talking about a level in Aberdeenshire which created over 160 stone circles just in this area. As we walk back from the flankers, the stones start to decrease in size. And at the opposite side, we have the stone where clearly the initiate or the younger members of the tribe were meant to view some kind of cosmic phenomenon. I think this is possibly the beginning of a separation with the Mother Earth. Once upon a time, it was enough to go to some great waterfall, some natural outcrop. But now, we stand proud. The beginning of us starting to stand, unfortunately, alone. Now we're coming round to the foot of Dunedere, and we're going to be going past Stonehead. I think we've just got to do Stonehead because it's called Stonehead. Can you see right there? We're now at Dunedere Stone Circle. Dunedere spelt with an I, but Dunedere spelt with a Y. That's the way the British language has evolved. Everything is just so changeable. This is a smaller stone circle. The recumbent here and there is Dunedere. This is the closest to the sacred hill. As you can see, the recumbent is still upright, the main flanker is still upright, but this flanker has leant forward and erosion has caused it to split into two pieces. Most of the rest of the circle is being cleared and pushed around it. But still, with these recumbent stones and with the flankers next to it, we have enough evidence. And there's the obsession. Dunedere. Aberdeenshire is my big thing because when we first came here, I was mind blown, as much as anything, at what hadn't been done. So I just started going and ringing on farmers' doorbells and saying, can I have a look at your stones? Zooming along, doing it as fast as I could to get a kind of a grip on what was going on here. And after about 3 years, I started to realise that there was a kind of this focal point, which is Dunedere, which is a psychological centre even without stone circles. It's a focal point. You don't have to go, oh, well, there's an alignment. Yeah, it's a straight line. You know, it's a straight line. I can see this and it physically does something for me. So we'll make sure that the stone circle is within sight of that. They clearly meant it to play like a bit of a psychological game. And that's what the ancients were about, this constantly reinforcing the drama of where they were. Wantonwell Stone Circle, destroyed. They took a big tractor and they dragged all these stones all up against